Hello everyone, bonjour tout le monde. I hope you're doing very well. My name is Jimmy Smith. I am the founder of West London Wine School, South London Wine School, both in London, United Kingdom, and also Streatham Wine House, a wonderful, great funky bar in the south of London. I am a wine educator and I do a lot of these videos online. This is our Grape Varieties series on Fiano. This is our advanced version. So this is ideal for those of you that are studying level 3 and above. It's got information which will be very useful for level 4 diploma students, that's WSET, and equivalents around the world. If you are studying your level 3, there is more information you need to know here. It's a bit above your pay grade, but you will find it nonetheless interesting to help you understand and remember this grape variety. So this is our advanced version. If you want the intermediate version, please seek that out and it will be in the description below this video. So a little bit about the history of the grape variety to begin with, and then we'll go through the viticulture, vinification, the location, the geography, and also then the style. So it was first mentioned in the 13th century around Foggia, and this was by Emperor Frederick II, quite important emperor based down in Sicily and southern Italy, often called the son of Puglia. And he, in a register of purchases by him, it was mentioned the Fiano variety. So big amount of history here, stretching back, a number of centuries. It is from Appio, or Lappio, as it's known today, which is quite near Avellino. We believe that anyway. The Appio will link to the Latin, which I believe would probably be next. Here we go. So possibly the Vitis Appianae, mentioned by Pliny the Elder and Columella in his rustic book that he wrote about the countryside back in Roman times. And that Appianae, Appia, Fiano, it's said to be a link to that. And it's called the vine of the bees because of the attraction these bees have to it. So a lovely bit of history here. So we think that it goes all the way back to Roman, maybe Greco-Roman times, and then, of course, has history through medieval times. So one of those ancient varieties, possibly it would have been included in the famous Roman wine Falernum. We know that Falangina has a very strong claim to that. Maybe Fiano was used as well. Now, Fiano is an absolute struggle to grow. It is a difficult grape variety. It really yields a low amount. So therefore, it was in heavy decline after Italy went through a huge amount of socio-economic issues at the end of the 19th century and throughout most of the 20th century, certainly up to the Second World War. Of course, farmers would look to produce grapes that were easy, which would get them a cash crop. And of course, Fiano fell foul of that and very little remained. It was actually almost extinct. Come Antonio Mastrobadino in the 60s and 70s actually started to really focus on native varieties. He is said to be really the knight in shining armor of Fiano, of Greco, of Aglianico, of these local native or autochthonous indigenous varieties. And really brought them back to life. And thank God, because we have plenty of it now available, which is fascinating, interesting, and really gives you a sense of the terroir of the place. Now, just a quick note on Fino Aromatico, or Fiano di Puglia, is a distinct and different variety from Fiano d'Avellino, or as we just know, Fiano. So across the Apennines, on the Puglian side and Molise, the Fiano is different. It is genetically different, and there is a call to call that Miniatuolo, but I'm not sure if it's officially as that in the Register of Grapes as of yet. So there are quite a few Fianos therefore found in southern Italy, but they're not all the same. Fiano in the Vineyard is a mid-ripening variety, often picked in the last week of September, first week of October. And it's quite a vigorous vine. It's a fairly quick grower in the vineyard. As mentioned, there is very little flesh and pulp. It's quite small but thick-skinned berries, very hardy berries, but with very little juice, flesh and pulp. So therefore, the yields tend to be on the lighter side, on the lower side. So that is why it has fallen into disrepair in the past. So low yielding, and yes, the basal buds are very infertile. One of the reasons why they are so low yielding. Susceptible to mildews, both downy and powdery mildews. And Fiano is a really terroir-driven variety. It's very site-sensitive. So here, of course, it's a famous part of the volcanic ring, which stretches from, of course, Vesuvius around Pompeii and Napoli, down all the way to Valtorre in Basilicata, down to Etna in Sicily, and the Aeolian Islands, which include Stromboli, a volcano. So there's lots of volcanic soils down here. It's not purely volcanic. There are sedimented soils as well. There are calcareous, limestone-based soils. But on volcanic influenced terroir, you will find these really broad mineral, stony expressions being produced. On sandier soils, and going across to Puglia, for instance, they produce much more fruity and aromatic varietals, often with this quite classic hazelnut characteristic. So another reason why these genetically different Fianos are different due to their climates and their terroir as well. In the winery, Fiano is nearly always in Campania as a single variety. Go across to Puglia and Molise, it can be blended quite a bit, but it tends to be on the quality side. Around Campania, it tends to be a single variety. Look, like Fiano d'Avellino. By law, it doesn't have to be. Fiano d'Avellino is a minimum 85% Fiano, topped up with things like, I think, Falanghina and Trebbiano. But in practice, it really is 100% of this variety. Normally produced via inert winemaking methods. This is stainless steel. It's a part of that kind of modern craze of Italian viticulture, and this protects the aromatics. Fiano is not an aromatic; it's more of a semi-aromatic variety. So, really, protecting it from oxidation is quite key to producing these fresh styles. So, inert is often the way forward. It's quite high in terpenes, the variety, so you'll often find quite high amounts of floral notes. You'll find things like acacia is found, and jasmine often as well, and also has this quite distinctive kind of broom, fennel-like character and fern type character as well. So quite distinctive aromatics, which are often quite protected. There are some oxidational styles, traditional oxidative styles rather, few and far between, but they do have this bit of premox to them and a bit this kind of nutty character upon release. Lees is becoming much more common for the stainless steel inert methods to add texture, roundness and weight, and potentially some flavour and aroma compounds as well. So where do we find this variety? So of course it is Italian. So we've got only about 1,400 hectares in play, and possibly a percentage of that is the stuff we find in Puglia. So in Campania, what I could find out in the wine grapes book is that really there's about nearly 800 hectares of it in Campania. Probably that snuck up in the last 20 years or so, but the other hectarage will be across in Puglia, Molise and Sicily. But the key one, of course, is in Campania, is this one that we have got here, Fiano d'Avellino. So this is this region down here, and this overlaps Torrasi a little bit, overlaps Greco a little bit as well. Yes, it is a brilliant place of about, I think about 30 villages, and really famous for producing these varied styles across these villages, but certainly the best expression, and it is a DOCG, Fiano d'Avellino. This whole area here is actually Pernia, this kind of orangey area you can see on the map. So this is a DOC, which crafts the grape as well. The kind of lighter colored one is Sanio. Pernia is this area. Sanio is actually up this area. So they also produce Fiano, and then I've mentioned as well Sicilia and Puglia both produce the grape variety, but it is likely in Puglia to be a different type of Fiano. Okay, this whole area, to get your whereabouts as well, I should have done this at the beginning point, but really coming across here, this is your Apennines that comes down here through Basilicata and up here into places like Lazio. So this is that kind of the spine of Italy. So really, this is the real sort of kind of mountainous area, mountainous and hilly side, and really here is the coastal side is where we find Napoli. So you come from Napoli this way to get to Avellino. It's about an hour and a quarter, hour and a half drive in slightly dangerous roads to get towards Avellino. So what is it like, Fiano? Now, very, very varied, because we've talked about this already. It is very site sensitive. So most of the time you will find that it will have this kind of classic green apple character. It's very, very typical. And then it's slightly lower yielding, riper expressions will have this white peachy character. Most of them will have floral notes. So things like jasmine, white blossom and acacia notes will come through, so it's quite common with those. And then this, a kind of a mint character, less menthol, but more mint and fern. These lovely sort of green characters, and fennel, that kind of green aniseed note as well. And if they age, the best expressions when they do age get quite toasty, quite honeyed, and quite hazelnutty with a bit of age. There is always an underlying amount of minerality behind Fiano. It's quite a classic note that you get from it. Okay, so that's really it for Fiano. It is there's really not much you need to know for WSET Level 3. There's much more information that I've given you here across the board. But thank you so much for your time. I hope you've learned something. The contacts here for social media, both Instagram and Twitter, for me personally is that Wine with Jimmy, if you have any comments or questions. My wine school is West London Wine School in Fulham. That's the largest school we have, the WSET Riedel Award for Best Educator of the Year 2018. South London Wine School is our newer school. That's down in Streatham and Greenwich in South London. And then we have our bar, Streatham Wine House. So please come and see us for a class, a glass, or a bottle next time you're in London. Thank you very much. Over and out. Cheers.